Have you ever closed your eyes and dared to feel what it's like to already hold the winning ticket? To already be the winner? What if I told you it's not in the numbers, but in the assumption? Before a single number is drawn, the outcome has already been written by you. The law does not respond to effort, it responds to assumption. To live from the end means to live as though the event has already happened. When you manifest winning numbers, you are not waiting for luck, you are claiming your identity as the winner. It is not a matter of hope, it is a matter of knowing. Knowing what? That your imagination is God in action and you are the winner. You are not striving to win the lottery, you are remembering that you have already won. There was a time in my life when I would sit in silence and rehearse the scene, not of scratching a ticket, but of feeling the reality of already possessing what I desired. I imagined the joy, the freedom, the surprise calls from friends congratulating me. I didn't wait for evidence. I created it inside me. And so it came, not through force, but through the quiet certainty of faith. Let me now walk you through the 8 revelations, the 8 keynotes of how to live from the end and call those winning numbers into being. Each one is a portal to your desired reality. If you want to manifest a lottery win, you must stop acting as if it's distant. The secret lies in the assumption. Go to the end. Imagine how your body would feel if you already knew you won. Would your breath slow down? Would your heart race? Would you cry? Let your imagination rehearse that scene in detail. Dwell in that state, not once but repeatedly, until it becomes your dominant emotional home. The numbers will follow. Winners are not born, they are assumed into being. Through mental rehearsal, you impress upon the subconscious mind the certainty of your outcome. Visualize not the moment of playing, but the aftermath. Imagine standing in the quiet of your home, phone in hand, after receiving the winning confirmation. Feel the weight of destiny fulfilled. The mind cannot distinguish between what is imagined and what is real. So give it a script to follow. To wait until you win to feel wealthy is to delay the very manifestation. Begin now. Walk, speak, and even rest like someone who knows a fortune is inevitable. When you embody the version of yourself who has already received, you magnetize the external to match the internal. Do not pretend. Become. The illusion will collapse and reality will adjust. There is no out there. There is only the reflection of in here. The consciousness that dwells in certainty will pull experiences into its field that confirm its assumptions. The numbers, the ticket, the draw, these are symbols that bend around the axis of your self-concept. Raise that concept to match the vibration of winning. Live in the knowing. You are the source. Every inner conversation is a silent decree. What you repeat in your mind, I never win, maybe one day, what if I lose again? Those are commands. But when your inner speech becomes, it is done, I am wealthy, it's already mine, the world shifts. Replace doubt with declaration. Speak from the end in your heart before you speak it with your mouth. Do not only visualize the winning moment, visualize what comes after. What does your home look like now? Who are you blessing with your wealth? What freedoms do you now enjoy? This is not mere daydreaming. This is architectural work in consciousness. You are constructing the unseen blueprint and the universe will build it for you, brick by brick, person by person, number by number. Many fail because they watch the clock. They ask, when will it happen? And in that question, they have already broken the spell. Do not concern yourself with the how or the when. Detach, persist. Your role is to inhabit the feeling, not monitor the unfolding. The seed does not grow faster because you dig it up every morning. It blooms when left alone. Imagination is not a child's game. It is the workshop of creation. When you imagine lottery numbers and assume you already won, you are commanding reality. Feel it real. Don't just see the numbers, feel the reaction, the celebration, the responsibility, the transformation. What you can sustain in imagination, you will sustain in life. You need not win to feel rich. You need to feel rich and then you will win. To assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled is not to imagine vaguely or to daydream about a possibility. It is to enter into a state where the desire is no longer something to reach for, but something that already is. It is to clothe yourself in the psychological reality that what you desire has already happened, and to live from that place, as though the outer world were merely catching up to what you already know within. The true secret to manifesting winning numbers or anything of value lies in this internal alignment. Before you see it, before the numbers are drawn, before the evidence presents itself, you must adopt the feeling of certainty. You must feel the texture of fulfillment. There is a great difference between wishing and assuming. Wishing admits separation. It declares that you are not yet the one who has received. Assumption, however, is creative. It does not ask whether or not you deserve it. It simply claims the end as present. To assume is to step into a role. It is to take on the state of being. And in doing so, you shift your frequency to the vibration of that which you seek. What you consistently occupy in consciousness must objectify itself as fact. The law does not fail. It only responds. Now, to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled in the context of winning, particularly something as emotionally charged as the lottery, demands a certain purity of thought and emotion. You must not only visualize numbers or outcomes, you must identify as the one who has already won. It is not about the digit, it is about the identity. You do not need to force images or obsess over the mechanic. What you need is stillness and emotional acceptance. Can you, in a quiet moment, drop into the emotion of arrival? Can you relax into the inner knowing that the outcome is yours? Let it be known that assumption is not mere repetition or hope masquerading as belief. It is a conscious entering of a new self-concept. The key to mastery is the ability to evoke emotion, to bypass the rational mind and communicate directly with the subconscious through feeling. This feeling is not dramatic or loud. It is quiet and sure. It is a gentle inner nod, a silent yes. When you assume that you are the winner, you are not announcing it to the world. You are silently accepting it in your heart. This acceptance is the bridge. You are no longer begging for change. You are declaring, I. Some may say, but I do not feel rich. I do not feel like a winner. And the answer is simple. You must train yourself. The mind is malleable. Just as you were trained through life to feel lack, to expect disappointment, you may now train yourself to feel abundance and expect fulfillment. This is not pretending. It is a reorientation of consciousness. Just as an actor steps into a role and forgets himself in the scene, so too must you forget the version of yourself who lacks. You must die to that self and in your imagination resurrect as the one who already holds the prize. Every moment spent in the assumption is a seed. It is not wasted. Though you may not see the sprouting instantly, the roots are forming beneath the surface. Persistence in the assumption is the discipline required. When doubt arises, it is merely a test of your faith in the unseen. You are not being denied, you are being refined. Feel the desire, already realized. Speak from the end, not toward it. This is the essence of power. For he who speaks from lack creates more of it. But he who speaks from fulfillment moves mountains. One must also understand that assumption works because reality is not fixed. What you call the future is only the projection of your current assumptions. There is no external force governing your outcomes apart from your inner state. When you assume a thing, you collapse possibility into certainty. The universe organizes itself around your inner alignment. You may not control the form, but you do command the essence. The numbers are not random. They are symbolic manifestations of your inner agreement with abundance. Therefore, if you wish to manifest winning numbers, begin not by studying statistics, but by studying yourself. Find the resistance. Observe the thoughts that arise when you say, I have already won. Do you feel tension, disbelief? Dismiss them. Replace them with a deeper truth. This new truth is not dependent on outer validation. It is a sacred knowing, a state. You are not appealing to chance. You are aligning with law. So take a moment, close your eyes, and imagine. But not just imagine the moment of winning, Imagine the life that follows. Walk through your home. Feel the floor beneath your feet. Hear your loved ones celebrating. See your accounts transformed. Do not imagine the lottery. Imagine the you who has already received. Live from that state and do so quietly, consistently, without fanfare or fear. For in assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you have entered the only creative act required. Remain there. Trust that feeling. It is not fantasy. It is the blueprint from which reality must be built. Mental rehearsal is not imagination used passively. It is imagination employed with purpose, clarity, and feeling. It is the conscious act of rehearsing the end so vividly and repeatedly that the subconscious accepts it as reality. This is not a technique that works because of effort or repetition alone, but because the act of seeing and feeling the end repeatedly impresses a new identity into the deeper layers of mind. If you desire to manifest your winning numbers, you do not merely fantasize about the moment of victory, you repeatedly rehearse it until it becomes your new internal script, until it replaces the old dialogue of doubt and delay with a steady rhythm of certainty. To mentally rehearse a win is to step out of time. You are not reacting to the outer world, you are creating the world that must reflect you. What one rehearses inwardly, whether consciously or unconsciously, will always project itself outwardly as experience. The outer world plays the part you assign it. When you wake each day and repeat the old story, I am still waiting, I still don't know how, maybe one day, you are mentally rehearsing land. The universe must echo that story. But if you choose instead to rehearse a story where you are already the recipient, already the winner, where the numbers have already aligned for your good, then you begin to program the infinite to deliver accordingly. The key is emotional immersion. It is not enough to see images. One must feel the scene. The power lies not in visual clarity alone, but in sensory and emotional involvement. What would your breathing be like in the moment of receiving your win? Would your chest tighten with joy? Would your hands tremble? Would you laugh or cry or fall silent in awe? Rehearse those responses. You are not waiting to see if it will happen. You are conditioning your system to respond to what already is so deeply and sincerely that the outer world cannot help but obey. In your mental rehearsals, the scene must be short, looped, and alive. See only the moment that implies fulfillment. You are not rehearsing the draw or the strategy or the calculation. You are rehearsing the result. See the congratulatory messages. Feel the texture of the ticket in your hand. Hear the news. Smell the surroundings. Build a memory of the future and return to it so frequently that it becomes familiar. The mind does not resist what is familiar. It cooperates with it. Once the future scene feels like a past event, the subconscious takes over and arranges circumstances to match. Mental rehearsal becomes magnetic when it is stripped of effort and anchored in joy. You are not trying to force a change. You are allowing a vision to reshape your identity. A man who rehearses success walks differently. He breathes differently. He listens to conversations with the knowing that most cannot perceive. His inner rehearsals have not been empty daydreams. They have been instructions sent to the quantum field. When he smiles at the mention of luck, he does so because he already knows the outcome. It has been lived so many times in imagination that the material confirmation is secondary. It is not necessary to rehearse large, extravagant scenes. In fact, the simpler the scene, the more effective the rehearsal. A single sentence from a loved one, I can't believe you really won, is enough. A snapshot of yourself checking your account balance, now overflowing. A soft scene of you writing a check to bless someone in need. These are not just fantasies, they are rehearsals of identity. You are scripting the subconscious, and the subconscious always complies when it is moved by emotion and repetition. Understand, too, that the moment you begin to mentally rehearse a new reality, you are inviting the old one to die. This death may feel strange. You may feel like an imposter at first. The rational mind may interrupt and say, this isn't real, but you are not governed by reason. You are governed by what you accept as true. Mental rehearsal, when practiced consistently, will move that line. The impossible becomes likely. The likely becomes normal. and what was once merely desired becomes assumed. There is also great value in rehearsing not just the result, but the being. Who are you as the one who has already won? What is your tone? What kinds of things do you now believe about money, opportunity, destiny? Rehearse not only what happens to you, but how you now move through the world. You are no longer the one trying to manifest. You are the one who has manifested. This is a very different posture of consciousness. The former begs, the latter declares. The former waits, the latter gives thanks. In your mental rehearsals, never ask, is this working? That question interrupts the process and places you back in the posture of doubt. Instead, rest in the feeling of it being done. The rehearsed scene must feel so complete that there is no need to check. A flower does not watch itself grow. It simply opens to the light and unfolds. Your mind, when bathed in the light of assumed fulfillment, will do the same. Practice this art not with strain, but with confidence. Let the inner movie play daily. Do not change the scene too often. Repetition is power. What you rehearse often becomes your nature, and what becomes your nature is bound to become your world. To act as if you are already wealthy is not a performance. It is a psychological alignment. It is the assumption of a new identity, the wearing of an invisible garment that the outer world must eventually see. When you act from the state of wealth, you are not pretending to be something you are not. You are expressing the truth of what is already established in the unseen. This action is not outer mimicry, but inner conviction. You walk differently, not because you're hoping to fool anyone, but because you are no longer trying to convince yourself. You are convinced, you know. And from this knowing, action flows naturally. When you rise each morning and carry yourself with the quiet certainty of one who has received, you command the universe in silence. There's no need to announce your belief. There's no need to persuade others. You simply go about your life with the demeanor of one who is no longer waiting. This is the true posture of a creator, not one who hopes for change, but one who carries the tone of fulfillment. The world does not respond to effort. It responds to identity. And identity is formed not by outer facts, but by inner assumptions. If you desire to win, you must become the one who has won. Not in the future, now. The phrase act as if has been misunderstood by many as a form of outer behavior, a kind of method acting where you mimic gestures, appearances, or habits. But the true power of acting as if lies in the consciousness behind it. It is not the expensive clothing, the luxurious surroundings, or the appearance of wealth that creates the manifestation. It is the internal shift. It is the subtle but deep transition from wanting to having, from reaching to possessing. It is the alignment of self-image with the thing desired so that you no longer act like the one who might win. You are the one who already has. This form of action is not loud. It is not public display. It is internal embodiment. It is seen in how you speak to yourself, how you approach your day, how you respond to challenges. The wealthy do not doubt their right to comfort. They do not question whether they are worthy of ease. They move through life expecting favor, not as entitlement, but as natural consequence. To act as if you're wealthy is to carry yourself with the dignity, calm, and peace of one who has already arrived, and in doing so, you become magnetic to the very reality you embody. This action is most effective when it arises from feeling. If you feel wealthy, your body will begin to respond differently. Your breathing changes, your tone softens. You are not racing against time, for the one who has already received is not in a hurry. Time serves him. The panic of delay disappears because the outcome is already assured. You live in the afterglow of what has come to pass, and the world reads that vibration and responds accordingly. In everyday life, acting as if you are already wealthy may look like small, subtle shifts. It may mean walking with posture and peace rather than anxiety. It may mean blessing others freely in thought or word because you no longer fear lack. It may mean declining conversations rooted in worry or lack because they no longer match your state. It may mean choosing your words with care, no longer reinforcing the old identity that says, I'm trying, I hope, or I wish, but instead affirming the reality of I have, I am, and it is done. The key is consistency. One cannot waver between states and expect stability in outcome. You must remain in character, not because you are pretending, but because you are committed. You have chosen the state of the winner, the wealthy, the fulfilled, and you are loyal to it. When outer facts contradict your inner state, you do not yield. You smile, knowing that facts follow faith, not the other way around. You act not according to what you see, but according to what you have seen in imagination. And that vision is the law of your world. When doubt arises, and it will, do not react. Simply return. Return to the feeling, the tone, the posture of the fulfilled. Let the world argue with itself. You are not in debate. You are in agreement with your chosen end. This is how one acts who is already wealthy. He does not beg the world to agree with him. He agrees with himself. He remains centered in the knowing that all things must reflect his inner world, and so he continues in peace. The wealth may not be visible yet, but the state is, and that state is the root. From it, all else must grow. Understand that this act is sacred. It is not fantasy or delusion. It is spiritual law in motion. When you act as if you are already wealthy, you are offering a declaration to the unseen forces of life. I have already received. That declaration does not return void. It is the seed of manifestation. It is not arrogance. It is alignment. You are not trying to get something. You are being someone. And from being, all having flows. Consciousness is the only reality. Everything you observe in the outer world is the mirror image of what you have assumed to be true within. What you experience is not determined by luck, by chance, or by external power. It is shaped entirely by the arrangement of your awareness. Whatever occupies your consciousness must eventually take form. When you understand this, you stop chasing circumstances and begin creating from within. You no longer ask the world to change so you can feel better. Instead, you change your inner state, knowing the outer world will follow. The world as it appears to be is not fixed. It is fluid, impressionable, and obedient. It bends to the nature of your consciousness. Every person you meet, every opportunity that shows up, every situation you call a problem or a blessing is drawn to you because it reflects your internal structure of belief and expectation. There is no power outside of this. You are not reacting to a world of solid facts. You are experiencing your own assumptions in physical form. You are seeing your consciousness objectified. To understand that consciousness is the only reality is to accept that nothing needs to change outside until something changes within. If you desire to manifest your winning numbers or live in any state of abundance, you must first become the one who knows such things are natural, easy, and already accomplished. You cannot say, I will believe it when I see it. The law is exact. It says, you will see it when you believe it, and belief is not passive. It is the selection of an inner state and the sustained agreement with that state until it becomes fact. There is no randomness in the world. Every experience is rooted in a pattern of consciousness. Most people live unconsciously, repeating states of worry, fear, and limitation without realizing these states are forming the foundation of their lives. They believe the world is happening to them, not through them. They blame chance, fate, or others for their condition, unaware that what they hold in consciousness with feeling is precisely what keeps returning. To break this cycle, you must awaken to the truth that nothing appears in your world unless it first existed in your imagination. If you wish to win, to prosper, to thrive, you must not look to the outer world for permission or confirmation. The outer world cannot do what your inner world has not first declared. This is why it is said that you must live from the end. You must occupy the consciousness of already being the one who has received. The numbers, the announcement, the prize, they are all details that conform to the state of being you have adopted. And when you sustain that state without looking back, the bridge of incidents will form, and the outer world will adjust to support your belief. Consciousness does not work selectively. It is always creating, always generating, always reflecting. Whether you are aware of it or not, it is forming your tomorrows out of the clay of your current mental and emotional patterns. If you assume that you are always missing opportunities, then opportunities will vanish. If you assume you are lucky, chosen, and favored, then you will begin to witness these very qualities unfold around you. This is not theory. It is law, and it never fails. There are no idle thoughts, no neutral states. Every moment you dwell in consciousness is a moment of planting, and what is planted in consciousness must be harvested in experience. This is why discipline of mind is sacred. You do not allow your thoughts to drift into complaint or lack without consequence. You understand that every state has a harvest, and so you become selective. You choose to dwell only in the state that matches your desire. You accept only thoughts that affirm your abundance, your worth, your inevitable success. Consciousness, then, becomes your sanctuary. You retreat into it not to escape life, but to recreate it. You no longer see imagination as a distraction. You see it as the birthplace of all things. When you imagine yourself receiving, celebrating, living as the one who has already won, you are not lying to yourself. You are tuning your consciousness to a frequency that must express itself in form. You are building your future not with effort, but with assumption. Do not be deceived by appearances. They are not final. They are not authoritative. They are only the residue of past states. If the world around you does not yet show the evidence of your desire, do not panic. Simply return to the state. Assume it again. Feel it again. Rest in it. For the outer world must conform to the inner blueprint. It has no choice. It is law. Consciousness is the only cause, the only substance, the only reality. To change your life, you need not manipulate people, force circumstances, or wait for the right time. You only need to shift consciousness. Decide now that you are no longer the one who waits. You are the one who assumes. You are the one who dwells in the end. You are the one who knows that everything you desire is already yours, already complete, already unfolding. Inner speech is the silent architect of your outer world. What you repeat in the privacy of your mind forms the blueprint of your reality. It is not what you say aloud for others to hear, but the hidden monologue within, the constant automatic conversation you carry with yourself, that determines what appears in your experience. Every word you whisper internally is a seed. Some seeds are sown in fear, some in doubt, and some in the bold certainty of faith. But each seed must grow into form. That is the law. And if your inner speech remains unchanged, your life will remain unchanged, regardless of how much you work or wish or hope for better results. When people speak of wanting to manifest a lottery win or financial breakthrough, they often focus on outward steps or signs. They look at numbers, dates, strategies. But the real engine of manifestation is invisible. It is internal. It is the self-talk they permit every day, especially the conversations they have when no one is watching. If your inner speech continues to say, "I never win, nothing works for me," or "this is taking too long," then you are holding a vibration of lack, and that vibration will be mirrored by your world. The subconscious does not judge your words. It simply accepts what is repeated with feeling, and once accepted, it must outpicture. The true task, then, is not to change the world, but to change your internal language. Begin listening, not to others, but to yourself. Notice what you say to yourself when you look at your bank balance. Notice what your mind whispers when you imagine receiving the prize. Do you speak words of celebration? Or does your inner voice recoil, casting shadows of doubt, reminding you of past disappointments? That voice, subtle as it may be, holds the key. For it is the gatekeeper of your assumptions, and your assumptions are what create. If you wish to manifest your winning numbers or any form of abundance, your inner speech must come into alignment with the end result. Not just occasionally, but consistently. You must begin to rehearse new declarations, not empty affirmations repeated without belief, but living sentences spoken with emotion. Say to yourself, "I am the one who always receives." Say, "Things always work in my favor." Say, "I am already living in the feeling of abundance." These phrases are not mere hopes. They are creative acts. When felt as real, they become commands. The outer world is deaf to your wishes, but obedient to your assumptions. And assumptions are kept alive by repetition. Repetition in thought, repetition in emotion, repetition in speech. If you constantly return to the idea that you are unlucky or that the odds are against you, then your world will prove you right, not because it is against you, but because it is reflecting you. You must choose a new dialogue, one that confirms your worthiness, one that agrees with your desired state, and you must hold that dialogue long enough that it becomes natural, automatic, and unquestioned. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot affirm wealth in the morning and complain about lack in the afternoon and expect transformation. The subconscious mind responds to dominant feeling, not isolated moments of inspiration. You must make your inner speech an unbroken stream of alignment. Let your inner conversations echo the life you desire, not the one you fear. Speak as the winner. Think as the receiver. Walk as the fulfilled. Your voice, even when silent, is writing your future. Many people sabotage themselves not by what they do, but by what they repeatedly say within. They visualize prosperity, but inwardly murmur doubt. They say, I believe, but their inner commentary says, I'm not sure it'll happen. The contradiction dissolves the power. The divided mind cannot create clearly. But when the inner and outer agree, when the voice inside affirms what you imagine outside, the bridge between the invisible and the visible is built. The great secret is to internalize the end. Let your inner speech carry the tone of someone for whom the result is inevitable. Do not ask if you're doing it right. Simply listen to what you are telling yourself when you are alone. When you stop trying to convince yourself and begin to naturally speak as one who already has, the shift is complete. You are no longer seeking, you are remembering. What you often call intuition, impulse, or signs from the universe are simply the natural unfolding of a consciousness that has accepted a new truth. The new truth begins in thought. It is rehearsed in speech. It is confirmed in feeling, and it is embodied in action. The pattern is always the same. Thought, word, feeling, form. If you control the first three, the fourth must arrive. Let your inner speech be simple, strong, and steady. Choose a few phrases that represent your new reality and live in them. Let them become the inner music of your mind. Whisper them to yourself when you wake. Carry them through the day. Fall asleep hearing them. This is not mechanical repetition. This is creative direction. You are telling your world what to be, and because consciousness is the only cause, it has no choice but to comply. To visualize in vivid detail the life beyond the win is to move beyond mere wishful thinking and into the realm of creative causation. It is not enough to imagine the moment of winning a lottery ticket, for that moment is fleeting, and the subconscious mind does not respond to flashes of excitement alone. The transformation occurs when the imagined state becomes a sustained atmosphere. When the visualization expands into the daily rhythm of the life that follows the will, for imagination is the womb of all creation, and what is held consistently and with feeling must materialize in form. Therefore, the practice is not to imagine the winning moment, but to dwell in the reality of already being the one who has won. If you were already the recipient of the fortune you seek, how would you live? What would you do when you wake up each morning? Where would you go? Who would you help? How would you walk, speak, and breathe? These questions are not idle fantasies. They are instruments of alignment. To visualize with depth is to give shape to the unseen, to form the skeleton of a future event so that the flesh of experience may clothe it. You are not begging for a future. You are building it with the tool of imagination. A shallow imagination will not do. You must saturate your inner world with the sensory details of the life you claim. Feel the sheets in the bed you now sleep in. See the room that reflects your wealth. Touch the doorknobs, walk the halls, prepare your meals in your new kitchen. This kind of visualization must not be rushed or mechanical. It is sacred. It is communion with the power that shapes reality. You are not watching a movie. You are stepping into a dimension that is real in the unseen. The longer you dwell there, the sooner you walk it in the world of form. This practice is not about faking it until you make it. It is about faithfully rehearsing the end until it becomes familiar. The subconscious mind embraces what is repeated with feeling. What begins as an imagined possibility soon hardens into certainty, and from certainty, manifestation springs. It is not your job to figure out how the bridge of incidents will form. That is not your domain. Your work is to enter the scene of your future and dwell there as if no other reality exists. Many people visualize the win and stop there. They see themselves holding the ticket, perhaps hearing the announcement, but this is not enough. The moment of winning is not your goal, it is the doorway. Your goal is the transformation of your life. So you must move beyond the peak moment and into the emotional rhythm of the new self. Visualize the financial peace you feel at the end of each day. Visualize how generous you've become. Visualize the conversations you now have, calm, confident, unhurried. Visualize the phone calls you now receive, the respect you command, the decisions you are free to make. This is not daydreaming. This is precise alignment with the life you are creating. And do not make the mistake of keeping your visualization abstract. Be specific. Let your imagination be detailed, textured, grounded in reality. Smell the air in your new environment. Hear the sounds of your surroundings. Speak to people in your vision. Laugh, nod, rest, walk. Do all of this in the unseen as naturally as you would in the world of form. The more natural your visualization becomes, the faster it materializes. You must convince the subconscious that this is not a wish but a fact. And to do this, you must make the imagined state feel real. So real that your body begins to respond. The nervous system does not distinguish between actual experience and vividly imagined experience. So when you visualize a new life with clarity and feeling, you begin to condition your entire being to accept it. And once your system accepts it, it becomes inevitable. The thoughts, people, resources, and timing needed to fulfill it are drawn magnetically to the one who has already received. That person is not looking for signs, they are the signs. Their state of being is a beacon that pulls the invisible into visibility. Consistency is the requirement. A few moments of scattered visualization cannot overpower a lifetime of contradicting inner dialogue. But if you return to the same scene, night after night, day after day, you will impress the subconscious with an image it cannot ignore. And what the subconscious accepts, the world must express. Do not vary your vision too frequently. Do not dilute it with doubt. Choose your scene with care and then inhabit it. Make it yours. Let it become your secret dwelling place. Let others talk about odds and probabilities. You deal in certainties. And your certainty is born not from logic but from inner experience. You have walked the halls of your future home. You have felt the gratitude of financial freedom. You have laughed with friends in places you have never been. But in imagination, it's already real. And because it is real in imagination, it must become real in form. This is the law, and it never fails. To detach from the outcome and persist in the assumption is to understand the true rhythm of creation. The moment you assume the wish fulfilled, you begin a process. That process is sacred. It is unseen. And to interrupt it with anxiety, doubt, or desperation is to uproot the seed before it has taken root. Detachment is not indifference. It is not carelessness. It is confidence. It is a quiet inner knowing that once something is accepted in consciousness, it must be expressed in experience. Therefore, your role is not to beg or force, but to abide. When you assume a new state, you step into a vibrational atmosphere. That state is alive. It has a tone, a feeling, a scent. And the longer you remain there, undisturbed by appearances, the more firmly it embeds itself in your subconscious. But many, after assuming the end, quickly begin to look for proof. They scan the outer world for signs. They analyze each event, wondering, is this it? Is it working? This need to monitor is subtle doubt. It is the ego demanding reassurance. But creation does not respond to need. It responds to belief. Detachment is evidence of belief. For the one who truly believes has no urgency. He does not ask when. He knows it is already done. Persistence is not a frantic repetition. It is a calm dwelling. You persist by continuing to return again and again to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You wake into it. You walk in it. You sleep in it. Not because you are afraid of losing it, but because it has become natural. It is now your dwelling place. To persist in the assumption is to stop entertaining alternatives. You do not imagine losing. You do not wonder what happens if it fails. You give no attention to what contradicts your end. You are loyal to the outcome you have chosen. There will always be moments when the outer world tempts you to abandon your state. Circumstances may arise that appear contrary. Delays may present themselves. But understand this. Those delays are illusions. They are echoes of your old state dissolving. They have no power unless you give it to them. When you feel tempted to react, pause. Remember your end. Re-enter the feeling. Reacting pulls you into the old. Remaining still affirms the new. Persistence is not stubbornness. It is faith expressed through emotional discipline. Detachment also allows space for the unseen to do its work. When you are constantly looking for signs, you are blocking the very current that needs to move. Imagine planting a seed in fertile soil. If you dig it up each day to see whether it has sprouted, you do not help it grow. You kill it. The same is true with desires. They must be planted, assumed, and left to gestate in the silence of belief. The manifestation comes not through watching, but through being. You do not wait for the thing to appear. You become the version of yourself for whom it has already appeared. True detachment is made possible only when the assumption feels real, when the inner scene is so convincing, so emotionally satisfying, that you no longer care when or how it arrives. You have already lived it. You have already received it in your imagination, and having received it there, you are no longer yearning. You are giving thanks. This attitude of gratitude is not performance. It is natural. It arises when the assumption becomes your truth. When people speak of letting go, they often mistake it for giving up. But letting go is not surrender to failure. It is surrender to fulfillment. You let go of effort. You let go of trying. You let go of waiting. And you allow the assumption to solidify. Detachment then is not emotional distance. It is emotional stability. You are no longer pulled by appearances. You are grounded in knowing. Persistence, on the other hand, is the gentle returning. Even if you drift into doubt for a moment, you do not condemn yourself. You simply remember. You return. You bring your focus back to the feeling. You revise the state. And each return strengthens the impression. Just as a path becomes worn with repeated steps, so too does the subconscious form a groove that becomes your dominant vibration. When the assumption becomes dominant, reality must echo it. Detachment and persistence are partners. One allows you to rest, the other keeps you aligned. Together they form the mental posture required for manifestation. You assume, you persist, you detach, and you trust. This is not passivity. It is creative power in motion. It is the way of those who understand that consciousness creates reality, not through force, but through fidelity to the end. Let others chase signs, let others panic and plead. You remain calm, you remain sure. You have seen the end in imagination, you have felt the truth of it, you have received it, and so you walk as though it were already done. You persist because you know, you detach because you trust. You do not wait to see it, you live from it. And in doing so, you invite the unseen. Imagination is the creative power behind wealth. Not ambition, not struggle, not circumstance. Imagination alone is the force that breathes form into the invisible. It is the root from which all visible prosperity grows. If you are to manifest your winning numbers, you must first come to understand that wealth is not something you chase, and it is not something handed to you by fate. It is something you generate from within. The outer world is only ever a reflection of the world you have accepted internally, and imagination is the tool by which you rewrite the story you live in. When you imagine effectively, you do not simply entertain pictures in your mind. You impress upon the subconscious the reality you wish to experience. And once the subconscious accepts this impression as truth, it will construct for you a sequence of events that inevitably leads to its fulfillment. It may appear as chance, coincidence, or miracle to others, but to you it is no surprise. For you have already received it in imagination. You have already lived the moment. And having lived it, you do not wait, you expect. This expectation is not wishful thinking. It is knowing. It is rooted in the certainty that what is held in imagination must appear in time, for time is not the master of your desire, it is the servant of your assumption. That which is real in imagination must become real in the world. This is the law, and it is unbreakable. Therefore, imagination is not fantasy, it is causation. The world rearranges itself to mirror the dominant images you nourish within. The question then is not, how do I get wealth, but how vividly can I see it? And even more important, how deeply can I feel it? For it is not the clarity of the mental picture alone that creates, but the emotion wrapped within it. A man may see numbers flashing before him every day, but if he feels disconnected from them, if he still feels unworthy, doubtful, or afraid, those numbers will remain symbols of something out of reach. But let him feel, truly feel, that the numbers are his. Let him rejoice internally. Let him walk around with the peace of one who has already claimed the prize. Then the numbers, the opportunity, the draw, they must arrive. They have no choice, for they are now echoes of an inner reality. You must come to regard your imagination as sacred territory. It is the workshop of your future. When you close your eyes and construct a scene, not just any scene, but the scene that would take place after the fulfillment of your desire, you are not escaping reality. You are authoring it. You are laying down tracks. You are forming a blueprint that the subconscious will follow with exact precision. And so you must choose your scenes wisely. Do not imagine in a vague or passive way. Be intentional. Be specific. Let the scene contain the feeling of completion, the emotion of fulfillment, the relief, the joy, the gratitude. Then let that scene become your dwelling place. The more frequently you visit the state in imagination, the more natural it becomes. And the more natural it becomes, the more easily your outer world begins to conform. You will find yourself guided to inspired action, moved into position without effort, drawn into conversations and encounters that advance your desire. You will see the evidence forming, not because you chased it, but because you assumed it. Imagination, when charged with belief, becomes magnetic. It pulls all the necessary parts into place. Those who do not understand this principle often believe that money comes only by hard labor or clever maneuvering. But true wealth, lasting wealth, spiritual wealth, this does not come by force. It comes through alignment. And alignment begins in imagination. If you cannot first see yourself as the one who has, you will never become the one who holds. You may strive endlessly and gain temporary rewards, but those rewards will always feel insecure, for they were not rooted in consciousness. True manifestation is never about the object. It is always about the state, and the state is entered through imagination. When you live in the feeling of already being wealthy, you no longer need to prove it to the world. You are no longer triggered by appearances, no longer anxious about time. You become calm, expectant, quiet, powerful. You radiate the confidence of one who knows that nothing is missing. The beauty of imagination is that it is available to all. It costs nothing. It requires no permission. Yet it is the most powerful instrument given to man. To those who use it with conviction, the world opens up in response. Wealth flows not because of effort, but because the inner atmosphere has changed. And once that inner climate is altered, the outer harvest is inevitable. So begin today, not with fear, not with force, but with vision. Close your eyes and feel what it would be like to live beyond the wind. Let imagination become your new home. Let it become so real that the world outside seems pale by comparison, and then watch as that world begins to shift, piece by piece, into harmony with the vision you have accepted within. There is nothing to wait for. There is nothing to chase. The moment you understand that reality is an echo and imagination is the voice, you become free. free from chance, free from struggle, free from the tyranny of circumstances. You no longer look outward for signs of change. You become the change. You are the operant power. You are not the one hoping to win. You are the one who has already won. And the world is simply arranging itself to reveal the truth you have already claimed within. All that you seek is already contained within the state of being you dare to assume. The numbers, the ticket, the prize, the celebration, the freedom, they are all shadows. The substance is your state, and you are always free to choose your state. No condition is final because no state is fixed. Shift the state and the world reshapes itself. Persist not with tension but with knowing. Detach not with indifference but with trust. Visualize not as a spectator but as a creator. Speak not from lack but from fullness. Live not toward the end but from it. You are the architect. You are the author. You are the one who decides what is real in your world. The law is simple. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and let that assumption guide your thoughts, your speech, your actions, and your expectations. Refuse to entertain contradiction. Refuse to argue with appearances. You are no longer reacting to life. You are commanding it through consciousness. So now, step into the scene. See the life beyond the wind. Feel it. Own it. Let it rise within you until it becomes the only truth you know. And as you do, the world will shift. The numbers will align. The opportunities will come. And you will look not with surprise, but with deep understanding. For you will know. It came because you lived from the end. You were never waiting. You were remembering. And now, it is done.